or some of the Saxon legends, or maybe that's too soon? What do you think?
I think there's so much material about kind of knowledge which has been picked up over the years about the Druids and the Celts. That there's quite a bit more material that we can do in connection with Bath.
Yeah.
I mean, from the site which I talked about earlier, which is called Kelston Roundhill, I mentioned that I'd probably be going up there for the solstice.
Yeah.
And from there you can actually see an earthworks, which is about 2 miles away. And it's actually kind of on a raised field, but it's on the side of a mountain or a hill, so you can see it. It's kind of like a picture from this hill, and it's of a snake, almost kind of eating its own tail, but very much in the Celtic style. It doesn't look like the later kind of Saxon kind of snakes that they carved into the ground. But yeah, so there's fascinating sites all around from this point, which you could only actually see them from this hill. So this hill seems to have been a fundamental point of ritual, but also as well in connection with the surrounding hills. And so yeah, there's so much fascinating material just surrounding these 2 or 3 Celtic sites that are left. And the other one, as I said, is Little Salisbury.
Tell us a little bit more about that then.
Yeah, sure. Little Salisbury, it's surrounded, it's kind of in this organic, almost bean shape that kind of ascends slowly, but there's platforms. So it's very much, a lot of these historians talk about hill forts. But again, this is a big mistranslation because they take this from the word Caer, which is a Welsh word. And Caer actually comes from the root word of Cae, which is just C-A-E, and it means meadow. And so most of these places, which they now call hill forts, so for example, and one which again connects back to Lugh and the solar motif, there was a place called Caerleon on Usk. So it's the meadows of the lion, or the fields of the lion, but also it's now known as the Fort of the Lion. And so yeah, all of these sites are known as hill forts, and this is primarily because of the mistranslation of the word, but also whenever they find these kind of hilltop meadow settlements, they're surrounded by these ditches, and often they find ramparts and big wooden walls which were put up there. But I always use the kind of the metaphor of if we had some tremendously huge war, and archaeologists were to come back and look at some of our towns where all the people had disappeared, and they saw kind of these big concrete roadblocks that you see that the police and the army sometimes drag out,
Yeah.
It would be the same as these guys looking and saying, oh, well, this place is obviously a fort because it's got ramparts and
Yeah.
all of these different defences around it. But it wasn't the case. I mean, these were people which were living in the hills because they'd had great catastrophes with different effects which were bringing the water level up. There's lots of different ideas about why that happened.
Yeah.
But it's been shown by many different scientists in many different fields that even 3,000 years ago the water was 300 meters lower. But yeah, I mean, going back in time, we can find that this was definitely on the minds of these Celtic peoples, and so they always settled in these high points. And yeah, the main reason that the archaeologists would kind of think that these places were forts was because they had all of this wooden wall around it, but this was only because they were under attack from the Romans.
Of course.
So very much like the parallel that I used for the city. I mean, they did set up ramparts, they did set up walls, but only to fortify the the settlement, the area which they've been living in.
Yeah.
But this is used as a real kind of blanket statement, to tar all the Celts, to make them into these chieftains and warlords.
Yeah.
Every settlement is a fort.
Well, I mean,
all these people do apparently,
Well, exactly, and as you say, I mean, they were they were forced to become warlords, because if you're attacked, what are you gonna do? Just lay down and say, oh no, it's all over. Of course, you have to defend yourself, and as you say, that's pretty interesting too. That there might have been, going back further back, that this might have also been a reason for it being, earth changes overall, or flooding occurring a lot of times, and I mean, could these some of these have been acting like, I don't know, levees, what have you, to keep water out? Is that possible too?
I'm not so sure about that, but
yeah.
From the kind of the geomantic side of it, it's very interesting, the actual physics of having a ditch dug in the ground around something, because it means that any kind of electromagnetic forms and waves which move through the earth, very much like water, they will take the path of least resistance.
Right.
So when they hit this point in the ditch, they actually go down with the meander and actually go round in a circle and follow the ditch. And this is my contention, was that this was very much more to do with why they had the ditch there, was to do with the geomantic and energetic qualities, and how you could then make your settlement a very healing and place that was absolutely full of life, on very many different levels, and all of the area just outside the settlement could be agriculture, and it was kind of emanating these waves of earth energy.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously that whole image, that whole idea has been very much overdone by all of the modern archaeologists who just say they're all forts, say they dug the ditches to keep people out.
Exactly. That's pretty interesting. We have tons more, Daniel, to dive into here in our next segment. Excuse me. We're going to talk more about some of the etymology, but also about some of the Saxon legends. We have a little bit on the Templars to dive into, the Arthurian cycle, Merlin, and much more. But before we do that, and things off here for this segment, I want to talk a little bit more about your book. I know that you're writing it right now, and of course everyone can find more information on your website. But as we said last time on the show, for people that are interested in pre-ordering your book, you have a way to do that, isn't that right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, at the moment it's nothing very sophisticated. It's just a small button on the right-hand side of the blog, and you can click it and directly send me an email. So, I mean, the pre-order button is just to give you my email address. So anybody that is interested in pre-ordering the book and helping with the kind of the first batch or the first edition, then yeah, I would greatly appreciate you to give me an email and just let me know.
Beautiful. And tell us your blog website address again. Yeah,
it's www.thebathmystery.com.
Very good.
Blogspot.com.
Yeah, there we go. Exactly. Yeah. So one more time, it's the Bath Mystery and then an s.blogspot.com. That will get you to Dan's blog, and keep up with that, because again, he's adding new stuff all the time. You'll find things that we've been discussing here today, things that we discussed last time on the show, and things we haven't discussed. So definitely worth checking that out. But with that, I want to thank you very much for tuning in here to this first segment. Thanks to Fredrik behind the controls. We'll continue, as I said, talking more here with Daniel in a little bit after the break. We'll dive into more on etymology, the Welsh Chronicles, Saxon legends, the Templar connections, Arthurian cycle, and much more. But with that, thank you very much, Daniel, for coming on. Stay with us, and we'll talk more after the break.
Great stuff. Thanks.